So I guess I should tell you a few stories about my life, because that's what, eulogies are all about. And you may notice that we have some camera cuts here that might be a little abrupt and whatnot, because we're just doing this kind of amateur. It's not like the professional eulogies you usually see. So I don't think. When I was younger, one of my favorite things to do, and a lot of people don't know this, was riding horses. I started riding horses when I was about 2 or 3 years old, mostly Shetland ponies, but I'd ride with my dad and my mom. And my dad was a real cowboy, and I went on trail rides and all kinds of different things with my dad when I was younger. I got ran over by a Shetland pony when I was 3 years old, walking across the corral. That same Shetland pony, as we went out for a ride, decided to buck me off way, I don't know, that was about a couple of miles, I guess, away from home. And once he bucked me off, my dad said, well, get back on. And I said, well, no, I don't like riding these colts. Because that's what I thought. Shetlands were so small. But man, that thing was cantankerous. But I loved riding horses. And actually, Dad, if the burial plot doesn't really work out for me, you can always put me beside the horse. Because I wouldn't mind hanging out beside Tootin until I come back. So what are some of the other things I used to like? I used to love comic books, and as a matter of fact, I still love comic books. And my son Jay and I like going to the comic book convention every year, and I'm hoping that he'll still be able to go, because those were fun. And we've got pictures of Jay and I in the Batmobile. I've even got a picture of Jay and I in the Ghostbusters car, and he's got autographs. He's got an autograph from Adam West, and that's pretty cool. So when I was younger, I was his age, I would have loved to have met Adam West. I finally did meet Adam West a couple of years ago. That was great. Cartoons and comic books. Jay now gets up sometimes. Can I get up early in the morning? Yeah, if you can. And when he does get up early in the morning, it's boom downstairs watching the cartoons. I completely understand that. I loved it. I loved being a kid, and I guess I never quite wanted to stop being a kid. I remember fishing with my dad and my brother, going out to Rock Creek, and this is back down in Montana. I'd go to Rock Creek, and we'd fish, and we'd camp out, and we'd eat, and it was just wonderful times. I remember going on the West Coast Trail a couple of times, I guess, and always remembering that, and how that was so much fun. And I always still love camping. I must have loved camping. I bought a tent just a few months ago. I also used to do something that a lot of people don't know. To get extra money, we used to collect something called barberry bark. I don't know if anybody knows what barberry bark is. It doesn't grow wild everywhere, but it does grow wild on Vancouver Island. And what you do is you climb up on a tree, and in between the branches, because you'd have branches, part of the tree, branches, in that part, you would cut along, and then you'd cut around, and you'd make sure there was a strip so that the sap could continue to go down the tree. But you would take this bark off, and then you'd put it in your burlap bag, and you'd take it to a place called Callison Evergreen, and they would pay money for the dried bark, so much per pound. And barberry bark was a significant ingredient in many, many laxatives. So as you were cutting the bark, oh man, if you got it on your fingers, which you did, it tasted terrible if you licked your hands. And then, of course, other side effects would happen too if you licked your hands. Okay. Speaking of hands, one time I was cutting barberry bark, and you can't see it there because I can't barely see it here. I was just looking at this last night, and I can't find the scar, which is probably a good thing, because what happened one day was I was out cutting barberry bark, and I looked out or down, and right underneath me was a deer. And when I looked, it saw me, it jumped away, scared, and I fell out of the tree with my knife and everything. And I didn't land on my knife, I was pretty lucky, but there was a cut stump, and it was sharp. And the stump right there, the stump went right into my hand. I can see it now, this little scar. Of course, now that we're here, I can probably confess to the fact that I did cut my hand, but it healed up pretty good. And I was young. I was about 12 years old. I didn't really want that thing to heal that good. I wanted to show it off to people, because I got a scar when I saw a deer and fell out of a tree. So I took the blasted knife that I'd do Barbary bark, and I made sure I cut that thing a little deeper just so that people would be able to see it. So there's a little confession. As many people know, I'm a musician. I have so many wonderful friends all over this country and down the States who are musicians who I've been able to play with. I've been blessed to play with some of the best world-class musicians I believe this world has to offer, and most of them are in this town.